Welcome to the Music for the Soul podcast, where we talk honestly about difficult things. This is a place where music, hope, and healing come together. I'm Becky Nordquist.
And I'm Steve Seiler.
Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Julie Reuschel, and she is the executive director of Faith 45, which is an amazing organization that offers support and encouragement and awareness for pregnancy and infant loss. And Julie, I'm so glad that you are here. You actually were a part of the very first, no, I take that back. You were the second wave of light that I was ever a part of. I'm so incredibly grateful for your ministry, for you, and your new title as executive director.
Yes.
Yay, we're rejoicing with you. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're excited for this conversation just to bring some more awareness. Sounds strange to say that we're excited about the topic that we're going to talk about, but to offer hope and healing to other people as women who have walked through this road together. That's what I'm excited about, that God can take such horrible things and turn them helpful.
Yep, for sure.
Would you be willing to share with us your story?
Of course, yes. It's like you say, it's a hard story, but it's weird to say I love talking about it because I do love talking about it. So yes, 2016, my husband and I found out that we were pregnant with our firstborn and everything was going great. And we were blissfully so happy. And at her 20-week ultrasound, we found out that she was really sick. I'm already crying. So sorry, I haven't told the story in a while.
Okay, take your time.
I understand.
Yeah, so we found out she was really sick. And as first-time parents, you hear the word specialist, and it just blows your mind. We went to the specialist, and turns out she had trisomy 13. And I just remember laying on the ultrasound table, and the words incompatible with life were all of a sudden a part of our journey. And they pretty much told us that day that she would probably pass really soon. They were kind of surprised that she was still with us. But as God does, he had other plans. And I was able to carry her to full term. And at 37 weeks on November 15 of 2016, she was born. And we labored for 26 hours, not knowing if she would have a heartbeat. And then she did survive childbirth, and she lived for 45 minutes. So we were able to hold her. We were able to love on her. We saw her eyes open, and just the best 45 minutes of our lives. It was the best day and the worst day, all in one November 15. And yeah, it just was, the best day and the worst day. I don't know how else to say it. It was just a beautiful moment that we weren't sure we were going to get with her. And then we later that night had to say goodbye. And just days and weeks and months that parents should never have to live through. Really, really hard days and weeks and months. And then I remember probably a year later, I think it was actually around her birthday, a year later, I remember talking to my husband and saying, we need to do something. I want to help other women going through what we went through. When we went through it, I feel like there was not many resources. It wasn't talked about. When I shared my story, people came out of the woodworks of, I've had a miscarriage. I've lost a baby. And it's so common, but yet it's not talked about. And I feel like I had to dig and dig and dig to get good, helpful resources. And I was like, I just want to help people. I don't know what that looks like, but I just want to help. So we took another year to pray about it and to say, okay, God, what next? What does that look like? So then in 2018, we started Faith 45. About 2 months after we started Faith 45, not many people knew it, but we were pregnant with our third. We had one in heaven, one on earth, and we got pregnant with our third. And about 2 months after we started Faith 45, we lost her. At 10 weeks, we found out that she didn't have a heartbeat. So that's our sweet Esther, who is in heaven with her big sister Faith. And it was like, really, God?
Mm.
We just started this for you, and now we have to go through it again. And it just, again, you don't realize how common multiple losses are. And it just, again, the days and months that followed were impossible. And it just almost reiterated the fact that Faith 45 was needed. It gave us incentive to just push forward for both of our girls now, for our two little girls in heaven, and to push forward in that and honor them through that ministry.
What a beautiful thing to do.
It is absolutely beautiful, and I'm just so sorry for your
Thank you.
losses.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I love the beauty of your heart
Mhm.
and where you chose to go because, as you know, we have a choice in grief and in pregnancy and infant loss. We have a choice on where we're going to go with it, what we're going to do with it, if we're going to remain soft and teachable. And I'm sure you had moments like I did where it was like, I'm really ticked off right now, God. I'm not sure I really
Yeah.
want to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not understanding. This doesn't feel fair, but
Yeah.
and that yet you have to have that trust. And certainly little Faith and little Esther are making their mark through Faith 45 and your ministry. And the
Yep.
fact that you were obedient to the call of God and that nudging to be present for other people. Would you say, I mean, I think one of the hardest things, how did you feel? Because was Esther, or I'm sorry, was Faith your first child? I'm trying to remember. She was the
Yeah.
first,
My
right?
first pregnancy. Yep.
Did you feel cheated out of the innocence of pregnancy after losing her?
I remember talking to my cousin, actually. She struggled with IVF for a long time. And she said, when we lost Faith, my heart hurts because your pregnancies will never be the same. And yeah, because like I said before, we were blissfully so happy. And you get that positive pregnancy test, and it's like, yes, here we go. Our family, we're starting our family. And it's just nothing like I ever expected. This is never what I thought my family would look like.
Mhm.
And to have two little girls in heaven, it's not something you think about. It's not something you should think about. But when it does happen, it does steal some of the joy. And future pregnancies, especially after a second loss, it's a daily choice of choosing that joy. And it's really hard.
Mhm.
It is really hard to choose that joy after loss, and just trusting God every single day, every single morning that you wake up. It's tough.
Was there anything practical that you did to continually choose that trust and joy? Was it more of a making a decision daily? Were there things that helped you to keep your feet pointed in the right direction? Because all that fear, like, I mean, I know for us, I bought an at-home Doppler trying to hear the
Yeah.
heartbeats because
Yep.
you're right. Once you've had a stillbirth is one thing, or, infant loss is one thing. And then when it keeps happening, you're like, am I even able to carry a
Yeah.
child to term? Is this ever
Yeah.
going to work? Are we ever
Yeah.
going to get out of this
I know.
furnace that we're in? So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if you have anything practical. I mean, we did the at-home Doppler just for reassurance.
Yeah. My OB was awesome. I mean,
Mhm.
she has walked us through so much.
Mm.
And I think that is a huge part of it, is having a good medical team who, like, basically she told me any single day you want, even if it's 3 days in a row that you're wondering, did I feel him kick? Did I not feel him kick? Like, just come in. She was like, just come in. And it was right down the road from my work. So I think that was huge, of like having the support of a medical team that gets it, like gets that pregnancy after loss is so different than a normal pregnancy. For me, it was journaling. I love to journal and to just write and reading. I had some awesome books that I read, and just getting out those feelings. I think a lot of it was talking to my husband too, of like, here's why I'm so anxious today, or here's why I was a little off today, because that understanding and those conversations of just talking about it and giving yourself grace to feel all the feels.
Amen.
I'm wondering, for the husbands that are listening, or women that wish their husbands could be more helpful, are there any pointers, suggestions that you could give that you feel like really worked well for you or that you've heard others talk about?
I think being open and honest about what you need is huge. And for me and my husband, it was counseling, going to counseling and seeking that help, even just professional help of here's what we're going through. And man, it's really hard. The everyday and the differences, like even through the grief, like after we lost Faith, we went to counseling and it's just you grieve differently, you live differently, you think differently. And just going through that together to seek counseling, I think was huge for us. And then just the open communication, I think, is the biggest piece for us.
And
Mm.
sometimes that's hard for men, but I hope that those who are listening will take that seriously because as long as you can talk about it, then it's not all pent up inside and you're not
Yeah.
stewing over it. And I would encourage men as well to get a support group of
Oh,
other
yeah.
men who've been through this so they can talk with each other and share because it's going to be different for the man than it is for
Yeah.
the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that night at that Wave of Flight, Dave, my hubby Dave, was back at the book table, and it was just profound to him as he stood there, the number of guys that came up and started sharing with him.
Oh,
And
wow.
I don't think we ever talked about that,
Yeah.
but
No, I don't think we did. Yeah.
he was like, I was just thinking I was gonna sell
Yeah.
some books or something. He's like,
Yes.
I ended up
Yeah.
standing there and talking with a couple of guys that
Oh, good for
it had
him.
been it had been a long time since their losses. So that's very true. They grieve so differently. And I don't know about you, but I really had to have a huge measure of grace for Dave
Oh, yeah.
because he didn't grieve at all like I
Yes.
did or
Yep.
do. And years later we talked about it. I'm like, so where did you grieve? Because like he's just so nonverbal.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm the entirely opposite type
Yeah.
of personality. So he's like, "Oh yeah," he said, "I did most of my grieving when I was out in the barn."
Same. I was just going to say that the night
Yep.
we found out about Faith's diagnosis, my
Mm.
husband went out and started picking weeds in the garden. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm a mess in here and you're out picking weeds. What?
Mhm.
But he
Mhm.
said, like, that was just my place, like just being outside and grieving out there, I guess. It was like, okay, just very different.
Yeah, and it's like opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So as women, it's happening to us not just emotionally and relationally, it's happening to us physically.
Is it? Yeah.
So
Yep.
we've got I hate to use this for lack of a better phrase, but we got more skin in the game and as far as this goes, right?
Yep.
And with the guys, they are such problem solvers and they need to
Yes.
be able to make things right. And it's something that they can't.
Yeah. My
So
husband always felt like he had to be strong for me, but it's also like me wanting to see that vulnerable side of him. But I appreciate that you're being strong for me, but yet we need to grieve together too. So it was a daily grind of figuring it out together.
yeah, gracing and mercying each other
Yeah,
for where you are in
for
the
sure.
day or in the
hmm
process for sure. So good. Could you tell us a little bit about what Faith 45 does?
Yeah. So a lot of people always ask about the name. So if you haven't caught it yet, our firstborn, her name was Faith, and she lived for 45 minutes. So that is why we chose that name. And like I said, we didn't know what it looked like right at first of what we wanted to do, but I am definitely a reader. I am a resource person. Like I said, I wanted to find helpful resources. And so I wanted to get those resources into people's hands. And it was like, how do we do that?
Mm.
So, first part of our ministry that evolved was our faith boxes. So, we send out faith boxes to families that are experiencing miscarriage, stillbirth, or infant loss. We have 3 separate boxes. And inside those boxes are just resources that helped us. So, there's books in there, there's children's books, there's bracelets, there's a candle, there's a journal. Forget me not flower seeds, those are always in there. Just things that helped us along our grief journey. And yeah, like I said, we send those out to families. And then about probably 6 months to a year into Faith 45, my mom actually came to me and we had been kind of feeling the nudge too that we wanted to walk with these women more than just sending them a box. And we also had women coming up to us saying, how can we help? What can we do? We've lost. How can we help? And so we actually through God and through just some awesome moments, we started our mentorship program. And we walk one-on-one with women, and it's all done electronically. So I remember when I was going through my loss, like there were days I didn't even want to get out of bed. There were days I definitely didn't want to leave the house. And so to go to a support group was really overwhelming to me and was I just didn't know that I could do it. So we wanted to have a safe place to walk one-on-one with a person who gets it, like just an opportunity to walk with someone who gets it. So we have mentors that we have all of their stories. So when we get a request for a mentor, we match it with a story that is similar. And they just walk one-on-one through texting, phone calls, emails, just sending daily encouragement, and not daily, but whatever that looks like. Really, the relationships that have come from that ministry are just beautiful. We have some that are such good friends now. We had one mentor that is in Minnesota for us, walking with someone in China. And so it was just a beautiful, the stories that have just come out, I can't stop smiling because it's just beautiful. And God is just blessing that part of the ministry. And it's just beautiful to see women walking and encouraging and supporting each other. It's just awesome. So those are kind of the two things that we do.
That is incredible. I love that mentorship because you're right. I mean, I was in that same position where I didn't think I knew anybody. And the only person I could think of was a friend who lived way out in Colorado. And I had sung at her twin daughter's funeral.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so when it came time, like I didn't know who else to contact. She had just reached out to me to record the songs that I sang. And I was, of course I will, and I remember watching her that day going, I don't know how people live through this. And then all of a sudden I find myself living through it. And to have that person that you can reach out and say, what happens next? Or, how do you plan a funeral? I mean, people don't understand, I think, what it takes to plan a funeral for your child, let alone an infant. And those are some moments that I wish I could erase from my mind.
Yep.
And I'm sure you have that bittersweet place too, because we do see how God can take tragedy and turn it into an incredible testimony. And yet you wish you never had to walk that road. So what an incredible gift to give people the opportunity to have mentors to say, hey, you're not alone.
It's a program that you don't sometimes want to talk about those things with even your mom. You don't want to talk about them with your best friend. And sometimes there's questions that seem ridiculous and questions that seem way too dark or way too big. And to be able to talk to someone who's walked that, who says there's no question too big, there's no question. If you're thinking it, I've thought it. And to have someone who just really gets it and you can open up with it's just beautiful. It's been beautiful.
Yeah. Julie, what role did songs play in your healing process?
Yes. So I have always loved music. I've been on my church's worship team for years, and music plays a big part of my life. And I forgot to mention, in our faith boxes, we have a flash drive of all music that helped me heal on our grief journey. And it's songs that, there's so many good songs out there that can help with grief, and songs that for me almost gave me the permission to grieve. And I remember just weeping to songs, and you hear songs differently. When you've gone through something like this, you hear things and you're driving in the car and a perfect song comes on that just speaks to you in that moment. And there's just so many songs even going through my mind right now that just helped me grieve, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain, but there's also songs that I still can't sing because one of them was sung at my daughter's funeral. So I literally can't sing it without weeping. And I remember when we lost Faith, the song Good, Good Father came out. And I still struggle to sing that song because it was like, okay, God, this song is very big right now, but this really doesn't feel good. And it was really hard to sing that song when something doesn't feel good. Yeah, music moves me to different emotions and allows different emotions. And it was just a huge part of my healing process. And so that is why we include that in the faith boxes too, in hopes that it can help other people too.
Well, I'm certainly glad you do that. There's no question that sometimes the things that we can't bring to the surface for whatever reason, because they're just too painful, a song can speak for us.
Yeah.
A song can allow us to unlock emotions that we may feel are inappropriate to share with everybody, and sometimes you just need a good cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a song can open up the heart and let those
Yeah.
tears flow in a way that does bring healing.
For sure.
And that does comfort. I think that sometimes when you feel especially alone, a song that speaks the truth you're living or currently experiencing can feel like a companion. It can
Yeah.
make you feel less alone.
For
So
sure.
I'm really glad that you've chosen to use songs that way. What about the songs that you've heard from Becky's project before we said hello? Is there one of those that you like?
I just absolutely adore Heaven's Playground. I can't even say more about it. I literally just told someone about it a couple days ago. And those are actually on that flash drive that's in our faith boxes. I just remember meeting you at that night and hearing those songs. I think I wept that night because you hear them, but then to hear you sing them, it was just amazing. That song is just incredible. But I mean, both of them are, but that song just, it's just a beautiful, beautiful picture of heaven. It's just amazing.
Well, thank you. As you know, it was a vision that the Lord gave me as we were burying Nicholas, and you just hold closely those gifts that he gives us of those children and
Yep.
just the comfort that he brings. So thank you. I'm so glad and I'm so grateful that you guys have used that with your boxes, and pray that it encourages and blesses many others.
Yeah.
I've heard you guys mention the Wave of Light, and I've never been to one, and I'm sure some of our listeners don't even know what that is. So could you describe what a Wave of Light event is like?
Yes. So October 15 is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So on the 15th, it's called a Wave of Light because the goal is at 7 p.m. in every time zone, you light a candle in honor of those lost, so that throughout the world, there is a wave of light at 7 p.m. in each time zone. So wave of light ceremonies can look very different. It's basically just whatever that looks like for you. One year it was just our family. And at 7 p.m., we got out both the girls' candles and we lit them at 7 p.m. And then you leave them lit from 7 to 8 so that the next time zone takes over. And then the next year we were honored to host a wave of light and host Becky and just have people come and light candles all together. It's just a beautiful way to remember. Not that you ever forget, but to have a special day set aside to remember in the busy and craziness of life is just so special. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was certainly a special night being with you guys. And we actually had done a mini one at Nicholas's funeral. I don't know if you even know this, but what I love about it too is, you come across all these people that never got the chance to have a funeral, especially with
Yeah.
your early pregnancy losses. And it's
Yep.
almost like when you have those early losses, it feels like the whole world is unaware of this deep pain.
Yeah.
And so you kind of walk with no closure. And
The world
that's
just
what
keeps going.
yes. And
Yeah.
and no one really sees you and no one really acknowledges this life that meant so much to you. And you're walking around with this gaping hole in your
Yeah.
heart. And
Yep.
so that wave of light, that opportunity to almost have kind of a funeral for your
Yeah.
pregnancy losses, those babies that you lost. And there were people years ago, they just didn't do it, like with stillbirths or even ones that were lost before birth. They didn't offer the opportunity to even see their child, let
Yeah.
alone grieve their child. So that's why the Wave of Light ceremony is such a great thing to do. If you get a group together, you can acknowledge publicly and maybe
Yeah.
find a little closure. And I know the event that we did together, I know that there were people that were allowed that closure, and it's such a
Yeah.
gift.
Yep. And just to find community too, to just
Mm.
walk together.
Yes.
It can be such a beautiful thing.
I'm curious with as we're talking about a ceremony type thing, is there anything special that you do on the birthday?
Yes. So Faith's birthday every year. That first year we were kind of like, what do we want to do? I mean, if she were here with us, I'd throw her a big old birthday party. I love birthdays. So we'd throw her a big old birthday party. And so that first year we did. We threw her a big birthday party. And because it's November, we decided to do a chili cook-off. So with both sides of our families and lots of people, we did a big chili cook-off. And so now that's kind of what we do every year. We come to our house and we have balloons and streamers and we do some chili all together. And then usually then on her birthday, because usually that's on the weekend, but on her birthday, our whole family, we go to the cemetery. And again, with flowers and balloons, and my earthly kiddos here now know that they have to grab the special book because we read her special book, and we go out there all together and just sit and have a little birthday party together and read her the children's book that we read at her funeral. So yeah.
That's lovely.
May I ask what book that is?
Yes, it's actually the one that's in our faith boxes, and it's I Couldn't Love You More. It's beautiful. It is awesome.
I love that. And I love that you're gifting it to others. That is so precious. And
there's actually a song that goes with that book that is on our flash drive of music by Matt Hammond. So yes, it's awesome. Yep.
Well, Julie, can you tell people where they can get in touch with you?
Yes, of course. So we have a website, faith-45, the number 5.com. And everything's on there. You can read about our mentorship program. You can order faith boxes. You can get in touch with us there. If we can help in any way, just email info@faith-45.com. And that comes directly to me. So I will see those and we will respond accordingly. So we want to help. So whatever that looks like, if it's not faith boxes, if it's not mentorship program, we just want to help. So we encourage everyone to reach out no matter how big or how small the question. So
great. So great. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your heart, and your time with us today. And
yes, thank you guys. Oh my goodness, this was an honor. I love talking about her. I love helping others. So this is perfect.
Oh, thank you. Really, you are such a blessing. I'm just wondering if you maybe have a word of encouragement for those who might be on this road that are listening.
Yes. I was actually just thinking today about the fact that God cares. And it's hard when you're in the moment, and I'm probably going to cry again, but to realize that God cares. He cares about our grief. He cares about our heart. He sees us. He sees you. He cares and he loves us. And I know now, being so many years past my loss, I remember being in my loss of just not being ready to hear that and being angry, but still in the back of your mind knowing that he cares, he loves you, and he loves your kiddos. He loves them even more than we do, which is so hard to think about. But he loves you and he loves your kiddos. And I think that if you can remember that, or if you can reach out to someone that can encourage you in that, I think that that's huge.
Thank you. It is important that we have people that can help remind us, even when we don't really want to be reminded, that he really does weep with us.
Yeah.
He really does care. Thank you so much for that encouragement, my friend. And God bless you. And again, thank you for being with us today and for all
Thank you for having me so much. Thank you.
Well, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please share it with a friend and give us a positive review on iTunes.
And please visit our website, musicforthesoul.org, where you can stream or download every song in our catalog. Also, right now, we're making available at this link I'm about to give you some free devotions from Becky's book, Before We Said Hello. That address is musicforthesoul.org/before Devo. That's the word before followed by DEVO. And we're going to go out on Heaven's Playground today. Thank you for listening, and God bless.
Sometimes I imagine a sea of shining faces, warm sunshine